Both of us are.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, JK'z. This is JK'z Rewatchable Hour. I am joined tonight by my wife, Jennifer, Jackie, George, and Eric. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you guys doing tonight?
Good. Good.
We're doing good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
doing great. How you guys doing?
We are talking about suicide, and before I hand it over to George, anybody listening and or watching this show, the National Crisis Hotline is 988. You can call or text. We are going to give you that number a lot throughout this show. So the number is 988, and I believe you can stay anonymous. So with that, George, why don't you take over the show?
Okay. Suicide hits everybody. If it hasn't hit you directly, someone you know has at least considered it. More than 720,000 have commit suicide each year. That accounts for 1% of all deaths every year. That's, to me, I mean, I know it seems like a small number, but that's 1% too high for me. There are over 49,000 deaths by suicide in the U.S. In 2023, that was in 2023. It was the last year. They haven't done the 2024 stats yet, making it the 11th leading cause of death. That's approximately one suicide every 11 seconds. 73% of suicides occur in low and middle income societies, shall we say, in America, in the entire world. Lower and middle class societies, class of people are more likely to attempt or succeed at suicide. Globally, suicide is the third leading cause of death among those between the ages of 15 and 29. Third. Second to, I'm not sure what the second place was, but one would be car accident, obvious car accident, and the other is health reasons. So only two car accidents and an illness is suicide number 3. Men die by suicide at a higher rate than women. However, in recent years, the amount of women has grown. They're getting a lot closer in the percentage to men. In the U.S., 12.8 million current Americans have seriously thought about suicide at least once in their life. 3.7 million have made a plan for suicide. 1.5 million have attempted. Okay, to break it down, 55.33% of successful suicides are by firearm. 24.37% by suffocation. 12.09% by poisoning. The remaining 8.21 is by other means, any other means. Now, the top reasons why a person would attempt suicide. One is depression. Often suffer from it silently and not asking for help. I can't stress enough that if you feel depressed, you need to reach out to someone, whether it's one of us or whether it's the hotline, which, as we stated earlier, is 988. You can text. You do not have to talk to someone unless you feel comfortable talking. The next reason is psychotic. Some the psychotics hear voices that command self-destruction. Others untreated schizophrenia, which is manageable with medication and therapy. So if you feel that you have one of these disorders, help can, somebody can help you, whether it's a doctor, a psychiatrist, or just a friend. So the next one is impulsive, often drug and alcohol related. After sober, many feel remorse and emphatically ashamed. They feel ashamed that they were doing the drugs or that they were an alcoholic. So, and that to them is their only way out. Some that attempt suicide are just are crying out for help and don't know how else to ask. They figure they'll get the help better if they attempt rather than just asking. Philosophical desire to die, usually motivated by painful terminal illness. We understand that some terminal illnesses are painful, but usually they can be controlled with medication to where you're at least not in the pain. So if you're in this scenario as well, tell your doctor that is treating your illness that whatever you're taking now isn't helping, and they can research and maybe change your medication. The last reason that is usually used is by mistake. Typically with young people who flirt with the high of oxygen deprivation and take it too far. I've heard of it where, like some people will choke themselves, and because they get, like, it spikes your adrenaline and they've just taken it too far.
It was big with teens, right?
Yeah,
For a little bit.
Yeah. It definitely said younger, probably in that age group of 15 to 29. That I was, that I spoke of. Yeah, but it definitely was younger, and they just, they're just looking for a high that's not, illegal or something, and they take it too far. And unfortunately, some suicides have happened because they've taken it too far. And those are the only facts I really looked up. So if there's any, whoever wants to go next or wants to talk about any of those.
I just, during the introduction, just because, every time we do a show like this, it's one of those ones where I feel nervous talking about. But the main reason why we're doing this, not only is it to spread the message that somebody is always listening, is the fact that some of our communities recently, we're not going to say names, but our communities had several people, young individuals, right? They were all young. They had taken their lives, and with George, what you were saying, the whole part of feeling they didn't have any to turn to, and that number again is 988. Like George had said, you can call, you can text. We wanted to do this show as a collaboration to wherever this is going to land. There's so many platforms out there, so much social media. We're hoping that if we can reach just one person, and to let them know that they're not alone. That's why we're doing this show. And none of us are doctors, none of us are psychiatrists. We're speaking from research, as George did. I know Jen might have some stuff that she have on her phone, Jackie. But we've also we share our personal experiences, not to brag, not to, hey, look at me. It's to help somebody somewhere. And I just wanted to say that message. And George, thank you for doing that research. Want to go, Jackie or Eric?
I can
Sure.
go ahead.
I can. Whatever.
Go ahead.
I didn't get as I think George did very well in his research. I have a couple different things that I had come across. I was trying to locate some local statistics. Especially, not to name names. I just wondered about, Seneca County or Tompkins or Steuben or, something like that. But I really couldn't pull anything together, with everything else going on. But I did find there was a map of United States, and they did list the this is 2025. A couple of the states that have the highest rates for suicide, and I don't have any reasons behind it. But Alaska is the highest with 28.2, Montana 26, Wyoming 26. It's pretty. I mean, I'm not quite certain. Is it because of the vast? Is it
maybe because I don't know about why. I know Montana is the least populated state.
right?
Wyoming
Maybe
doesn't
it's
have.
isolation.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
because
yeah.
I know in Alaska, some people only see people during the summer months. I mean, in the winter they're snowbound. Depending on where they live.
Less sun.
Yeah. I don't.
What were you saying, Jennifer?
He said it's also more dark there, so it could be seasonal depression that they're from, and it just turns into something more.
Yeah, certainly could be. That would be why Alaska would be leading. But I would have to say it'd have to be also due to the isolation because, like I said, I mean, Montana is the least populated state. And probably, if it narrowed it down, probably like near the cities, probably not as high as like the people that live out in the country. I mean, I know I've spent some time in the Midwest and out that way, and I know that's Northwest, but I know there's a lot of areas where there's nobody for miles. Simple story just to show you. I mean, that was just Nebraska. When I went to Nebraska with a friend for Thanksgiving, his mother and stepfather's house was in the middle of like a 3,000 acre farm. It was literally right in the middle. From the road, we drove about 2 miles to get to his house.
Wow.
I mean, those areas are all farmland, except for obviously Alaska is probably not as much farmland, but they're isolated because of the obvious reasons. Because when they get winter, it doesn't melt. When they get snow in October, it doesn't melt until March or April. So they're pretty desolate. So I would think that would have to have something to do with it.
Yeah.
Point, Jennifer and George and Jackie.
I do want to say that New York is in the 10% or less. I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, right. My little take on that is, I think a lot of these Midwestern states in Alaska, I don't want to bring politics into it, but I think a lot of them don't have a lot of possibly liberal resources, public services, something like New York State would have.
Yeah, it's probably stuff. Yeah, probably harder to come by. Yeah,
not a lot to do.
Yeah, not a lot to do. There's not a lot of resources for people to go to get help. They may be more private businesses that are very expensive. Maybe you don't even have one in your area for miles and miles. So all you're really relying on is people or a phone call, and sometimes that's not enough. You need somebody to go to that like the government, maybe, and to help a little bit, I think that could have something.
With that being said, I'm pretty sure I know that number that we keep giving is national. So even if you live in an isolated area where you don't have the public services, at least now, they have something they can reach out to.
Sure. And now the thing with the number would be the downside of the number, if there is one, is if you call it, okay, say you call it, right, and you're in an area that's 300 miles away, and you don't have a car, you don't have relatives, you don't have a family. What good is that number if they can't reach out after that number? It's something to talk to. Yes, that's 100%. But if you don't have a resource to go to after that number, and they say, well, what do they do? What does that person behind that phone call do? Do they, they send somebody 300?
I believe I believe what I read was that if the person that you call feels that you need more help than they can just give you on the phone, they can send the resources to you.
Okay. As long as there's somebody that
I'm sure they would find somebody. There's got to be somebody. Maybe in a city that's close
even
by.
If it's even if it is a local police. Or
even if it is somebody from the city that's maybe an hour away. I'm sure if they they feel that you need to help, somebody will drive an hour to come see you and help you out.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna guess there has to be some sort of on-call mental health service.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about other states, obviously, and that is a good question, Eric, about resources for those vast places that don't have the population even.
Yeah, because I did live in those kind of states before, so I kind of got an experience on some stuff.
Yeah.
With myself and my family and some friends and people I know experience things like that. To reach out to, it's not that easy sometimes. Just not. They just, unfortunately, it always comes down to the mighty dollar, no matter what anybody advertises. They may talk you to you a little bit, and after that, well, we're sorry, we got to go, and we got to go to the next person. That's the sad part, and I think some people maybe that could rub wrong, and they could go down the wrong road.
I think that's why the hotline is a good thing, because I'm sure they have people not just sitting in one. They're probably not even in the same room. There's probably people all over the country that.
Yeah, they may be working from home.
Oh yeah,
they could be working from home.
The veterans services and their hotline, they're all working from home.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a comment, and not to interrupt too much about Eric, I apologize.
No.
But I know that we did say that it's isolation, right? Like they do feel alone. But isn't it also I was thinking to myself, in those smaller towns, less populated towns, everybody.
Yeah.
So even if you do know the neighbor, even though they're miles away, but wouldn't you still feel, even if you knew everybody, you would still feel alone?
Yeah.
And maybe they don't want that person to know what they're going through.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's definitely something that when I was reading all of that touched on, is that you don't know how to reach out to somebody that or maybe you don't want them to know. Maybe talking to somebody anonymously is better.
Yeah. I hope that this video, this podcast that, on this subject maybe sparks some chatting. I'd be curious to get some feedback from people, that even maybe has called the hotline. I'm just curious on that part of it, just to get some real feedback and not just the statistics. But
right.
With what Jackie, Jen, and Eric George was saying about, being isolated, and, it was brought up. Maybe people don't want to talk to somebody that they know or don't know because of how they would be perceived. So my message to all the listeners or viewers, if you're not familiar with the show, that's okay. The five of us sitting here right now, we all did not grow up. We were not best friends since birth. We did not all go to kindergarten. The five of us, are from all different walks of life. My wife actually grew up 5 miles from where we all went to school. None of us were best friends until we decided to get together on social media and start this podcast. And we all talk with each other on a daily basis. We all let each other know that it's okay to not be okay. So if you're listening to this, knowing what I just said, like, just because we're doing this show, none of us were this close our whole entire lives. If you think we're going to laugh at you or ignore you or just tell you to suck it up, that's not what's going to happen. That's why we just do what we do. We will listen, and none of us will tell you, oh yeah, we know what you're going through, because everybody goes through something different. But what brought us all together is our past and everything that we've been through. And Eric has come on and told his story. George, we've had a few others, and not one person has ever laughed at that person. So I just want you to know, and I think I can safely say this, speaking for everybody, this is a safe space. So if you reach out to one of us, you're never, like, I can tell you right now, like, if a guy named Jim reaches out to one of these, not one of them is going to call me up and be like, hey, guess what just happened? I just heard this person. No, they're if it's possible, they're going to talk to you, whether it be text, messenger, whatever, the best they can. And the other message I just want to end this part of what I'm saying is, one of us is always free. Believe it or not, one of us is always available. So reach out. Nobody's going to judge you, and we will all be there. So I want whoever hears or listens to know that these five people that you're probably listening to or looking at, we were not close from birth till now. It's just something that it's just who we are, and we're just trying to change the world one person at a time.
Agree.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody want to continue talking about the different states, or I do have a couple other things to mention? Okay.
Sure. Go ahead.
We can't forget about the suicide rates with the veterans. We do have one veteran on the show with us. My significant other is also a veteran, which he kind of reminded me that I should probably say something about that. So I couldn't find anything for like 2025 or even last year like George did. George's statistics wasn't it 2022's, George?
2023.
Oh, 23. Yeah. Mine were 2022. So, and then I saw that how they do the statistics is per 100,000, right? Did you see that too? Or is it just?
Yeah. I had seen those, yeah.
Yeah, 34.7 in 2022, 34.7 per 100,000 veterans was the rate versus non-veterans that had committed suicide. And the male is higher than the female at 42.7, 44% higher than the female veterans at 14.2. Unfortunately, I didn't spend all my time trying to gather some info on the veterans. So please, George, don't be mad, and please, Sean, don't be mad at me. So I did want to at least plug those numbers, and it is very important, because
Mm-hmm.
they're isolated when they get out of the service,
Many are. They feel they're looked at differently when they come out. I mean, and some of it is because everybody knows where they came from, where they were. Others is, I'm just going to say it, our mouth. I didn't hold back a lot before, but after I had a pretty foul mouth. I mean, but you're hanging around with 50 or 60 guys and some girls. I mean, most of my units I was in, we didn't have, my last unit, we had more females than we had in my other units. But, I mean, you're hanging around with a bunch of other teenagers and young 20s guys hanging out in the barracks, and you will say anything. And so a lot of people look at us differently because we have a more foul mouth. I mean, literally, some people say, mouth like a sailor. He has a mouth like a sailor. Well, that's a reference to that after you've been cooped up, basically, with other young men, as you don't know if tomorrow you have to go fight.
Right.
Or, you don't know what tomorrow brings. And in a moment's notice, you have to be ready. Literally, we were trained that if you get the call, you could literally leave in less than 8 hours from the time you get the call. You have to be packed, ready to go, gone. So you don't know what happens, not just tomorrow, later today.
Yep.
So, you have a language, and you talk a certain way, and you carry yourself a certain way. And people look at you differently. Even people that knew you before, look at you differently. I dealt with it a little. There was a lot of people that maybe, that kind of backed off a little more after the Army. But there are people out there that won't look at you differently, that'll respect you, and you gotta look for those people. Those are the people you want to surround yourself with, not the negative. Even if the negativity comes from your family, look elsewhere. You don't. I know everybody loves family and wants family, but if they're not treating you the way that you deserve,
get your own. Find your own. Yes.
You earned, in my opinion, you earned respect just by raising your hand. You earned the respect. So find somebody that will respect you.
And with that being, like I said earlier, look at us. Look at the five of us. We're from all different walks of life. And I've said it before, by society's terms, I guess I want to say, or standards, the five of us should not even be friends, right? I mean, but
I'm married to him.
Oh no, anyway. But because of what George said, because we're a circle of people who respect and are just normal people. We don't judge, and that's one of the messages that I just want whoever hears this, listens to, or whatever. We don't judge. We don't laugh at people when they have problems. We all have problems. None of us are perfect. None of us are perfect today. We all have our own problems. But, Jen, you had said about Alaska, how I was isolated, and you guys touch on the isolation. This is one of the things I always talk about is the people who feel like they have nowhere to go. That's not true. You have people. You can just strike up a conversation. I know it's tough. It is really tough to strike up a conversation with a stranger. We were all strangers, and look at us now. And if you go to strike up a conversation with somebody and then the vibe is off, then that's not the person you need. Trust me, there's more people out there that will help you than there is that won't help you. And I know that for a fact because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just saying that.
Right. Even if it's a conversation, it doesn't have to be, anything special. Just like you said, like what we're doing every Tuesday night or Thursday night, or, you know, every 3 months we get together and, you know, have a good time and have some laughs and kind of let go all that negativity that you carry on in life, you know, and the people that you deal with. And, you know, it's just good to get around people that are right in the same mindset that we all are, you know, for the most part, you know, and it is pretty cool, you know, to be a part of that. And, you know, for somebody that's struggling with some kind of a mental illness or trying to attempt suicide on themselves because of, you know, they don't have something like that. You know, unfortunately, we're fortunate, you know, people here that we have what we have, you know, and I think people that go to that suicide route aren't able to mentally to take that next step. You know what I mean? They know people, they see people, but they don't have the mental capability, you know, to do the next step. And I think that's when the next step is, when it doesn't happen, is when suicide comes in. It doesn't matter what it is. I really believe that. I don't care what it is in your life, what's going on. It could be positive, negative, anything. And if that person in their mind doesn't have a mental capacity, you know, strength to take that next step, they're never going to do it. It's just like an alcoholic. It's just like a druggie. It's just like a person that abuses somebody. It's a person that does anything that's out of the normal, that we say normal. I think if you don't make that next step, you're gonna be in that situation, you know, across the board. And unfortunately, what we're talking about is suicide, and that's the saddest one of them all, because that's when you're not here anymore. You know, and all we can do is talk about maybes and what ifs and how comes, and you know, and this is what makes this such a great show, an emotional show, that to talk about, you know, it's very difficult to say it, because it is, you know, because all of us have experienced somebody. I have in my life. I've experienced recently, you know, within the last 10 years and in the last 6-7 months, I just lost, you know, 2 really good friends, you know, from suicide, you know. I know why one of them did. I actually do know why one person did, and the other person, I have no idea, you know. And I have experienced in life that people that are, you know, have tried to do that. And I have been part of their help, you know, as a friend, as I reached out and I talked and got people going the other direction, you know. So I live with that every day of my life, and I'm proud of doing that, you know, that I've done something, and I keep that to myself and that person, you know, and that's key. And so I know talking works. You know, that's the main thing.
Yeah, I'm sharing that, Eric.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got about 6 minutes before commercial, so just keep that in mind. Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off of Eric. I'm sorry you had to you know, deal with that, Eric, or go through that, knowing that you were there to support. But to piggyback off of some of what you'd said is that there are folks that don't have that coping mechanism, you know, or good coping skills to deal with some of these pressures and the depression and other things that are happening in that person's life at the time. You know, that's why some resort to alcohol, substance abuse. You know, they keep surrounding themselves with the negative people. You know, and even what you did, it just wasn't enough, you know. So I can only imagine. I haven't been in your shoes and been there to support that person. And it just, I imagine it's got to be frustrating for you that, you know, you did try, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but you know why I feel the way I do? I don't know if you guys can pick up on really what I'm talking about, you know, what I've talked about in the past in one of our show on my story, is I experienced that myself. And I know what it feels like to be there. You know, it's just like an alcoholic, you know, it's the person that's the best counselor is the person that's been there. And I've been there. I know what it feels like, and I'm a survivor of it. of that situation. And I know the loneliness. I know what can happen. It's real life. I'm not making it one bit up. And I think I just always think about that when I see people acting certain ways, and I have a nick for it, that I'm not afraid to reach out, and talk to somebody. I don't care if it's a person I know at work, or people in public, or family, or, you can I have a nick for it, I guess. So that you can see that people aren't acting right. I don't know. I think it's because I went through that. I mean, I had that feeling. I was there, but I didn't. I was able to take that next step. You know what I'm saying? I took that next step, and if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be here. I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't be here. And it took people like us here that I was able to get hold of down in my situation. That turned me around. That gave me an opportunity. To go to the next step, and I'm here to talk about it. And that's why it's great that we're having this discussion. It's sad that we have to have this discussion, but it's so awesome and so powerful. You can't, you just can't make this stuff. I don't know. It's real. That's what's awesome about it.
Thank you for that.
Thanks for sharing, Eric.
Yeah.
Jeff, do I have another minute to say something?
Yep. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to touch upon, I don't have a lot of information in front of me, but one thing that really does bother me, and hopefully maybe Jennifer has some statistics on it, is the teen suicides. I don't have a teen in my family and it's never affected me, but it just boggles my mind. I can't wrap myself around how, even a teen, and there's been stories, there actually was a local guy, that I think was in a younger grade than me. His kid was like all-star football, had friends galore, and still committed, unalived himself, committed suicide. And it was like, how can that be? So there are, as great as social media can be for us and how we were all brought together, I don't think social media has always been a positive thing for the teens and the bullying and stuff. So there's some positive and negatives to social media, but I'm going to end on that note. I think what I also had was some signs that I think George is going to touch upon toward the end. And first responders popped up. I guess that's been in Oswego County, New York report shows that there's a higher suicide risk for first responders.
Wow.
So
that's great.
It was just something that came across. I was trying to find 2025 stuff. So I think I will hand. And if somebody wants to comment, great, but
I'd like to follow up after commercial.
Commercial break. I know that Jen has some stuff in Georgia and everybody, so we'll just take a quick break. Everybody can stretch their feet, and we'll come right back. Hey everybody, welcome back to JK'z Rewatchable Hour. I am joined by Jen, Eric, George, and Jackie. We are talking about suicide. In case anybody needs a free number that you can call or text, it is nationwide. You can remain anonymous. Somebody somewhere in this country will pick up your call or text. They will talk to you, and if further assistance is needed, they will do everything in their power to get you whatever help you may need. That number is 988. That is nationwide. You can call and text. The reason why we're doing this show is because recently in our communities, we have lost young individuals. And we're just trying to shed light on this subject that is very touching. Some people have some experience in it. We're just trying to let people know that everybody there is somebody out there that will listen. You may not even realize who it is. And just before I hand it over to Eric and Jackie, we are five strangers from all walks of life. And we didn't know each other up until 18, 19 months ago. And here we are. We have a few more people involved in this show. Here we all are. We're all one big family. We are our own support group for each other. It doesn't matter if it's me and Eric or George and Jen or Eric and Jay. It doesn't matter. None of that matters except for we have a support group and we're trying to reach as many people as we possibly can. If you don't have a support group, reach out to any one of us on Facebook or YouTube on this show. One of us is always available. Whether you believe it or not, your life is worth something, and it's more important for you to be here than gone. So, with that, Eric, I know that you wanted to say something before our commercial break. Why don't you take off with that?
Yeah, just something quick. Just basically what George started out with the statistics of and what Jacqueline was talking about. I don't remember everything you said, but did they say anything about like people that went for help, like counseling or the one, the number, the call for help, things like that? Did they have any kind of numbers of people that actually did reach out for help, like counseling, and the number, that either survived or unfortunately committed suicide? Were there any numbers at all for that? You know what I'm saying? So like a veteran or an average person.
I didn't see anything on that to where somebody reached out. I know some people that have reached out for help and it succeeded. And I know that some people have reached out and they were just, whether they were determined or whether it was a psychosis to where the voices or whatever, told them and they didn't have a choice or whatever, that's what they, but I don't have actual statistics on it.
Okay. Like a percentage of like somebody that, okay.
Yeah. I don't have any of that.
Okay. I never looked up.
I do know that a lot of people call the number, text the number. I didn't get numbers on that, but I mean, I don't even know if those are the ones that are more serious or those are the ones that are minor. But in my opinion, if you even considered it, it's major.
Right. I mean, like you mentioned, there's hundreds of thousands of people that have taken lives.
Like I said, there was basically 3 steps. So many, considered it. Some made a plan. Some actually carried it out.
So you have to.
So, in my opinion, even if you've considered it, that's a serious case.
Correct.
Whether you've made a plan or not, that doesn't make your case more serious or not. But maybe it makes you where you'll need a little more help than just talking to somebody on the phone. But that's for the hotline to decide. I mean, obviously, probably like anyone else is on a hotline. They're trained in what to do, what steps to take to help you. So,
correct. Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's what I really want to follow up on. Is just curious.
I didn't have actual numbers on it or whatnot, but I do know that people have reached out and it's helped, and some people have reached out for help and still followed through.
Right. I mean, the reason I'm following up with that question is that if we put ourselves in that position, say, right, just an example, and you go on a computer like we have done, and you see that, if they would publicize that to where the percentage of somebody that goes and talks to somebody or calls that number or goes to a church or goes to wherever, it was success numbers, not necessarily just call the number. If people see positive, they say, okay, I'll take the time. But when you're in a negative, you don't want to see negative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to see positive. So in my opinion, I think they should. If they don't, they may do it because I don't honestly have not looked up any of that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't extensively look for it or whatnot for that part of it.
Yeah.
But I do know that I imagine there's a lot that reach out that it's successful.
Sure.
It's probably a higher percentage, mainly because they just needed somebody to talk to. I mean, that's what a lot of it is. I mean,
Sure.
I know one of the biggest is you feel alone. I mean, that's one of the biggest things is that, you don't know who to reach out to.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have somebody, you know,
Right. And if you do have somebody, are you afraid to talk to that person, and how are they going to judge you?
yeah, how are they going to
You know,
look at me?
are they going to
How,
believe
how, how are
you?
they going to look at me after?
Right. Are they going to make a big deal about it and call the police or call, whoever? And I don't want that to be known. And
Yeah.
all community that can affect somebody.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like they might not necessarily want you to call the police unless you are at that point to where
Mm-hmm.
you're ready to follow through.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just considering it, just, maybe just talk to me, talk me down, tell me how,
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on Jackie had mentioned first responders, how their rate is higher than others. I
Mm-hmm.
think that piggybacks off of the same thing with some military as well, because yes, one of the things is they come home and they're looked at differently, but the other would be things that they've seen while they were in.
Mm-hmm.
And probably the same with first responders. It's things that they see. Some of these people are the first ones there, maybe even before the fire truck or the ambulance arrives. Maybe they were closer because a lot of these people not necessarily are paid
On duty.
and they might not be on duty. They just might
Mm-hmm.
be, oh my God, that's happening. They hear it on the scanner or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and they say, "Oh my God, that's like half a mile away from me." The fire department is 6 miles away. I can be there in a minute. It'll take me longer to walk to my car than it will to drive to their house. So they see things, you know. So I'm sure that has a little bit to do with that. Is that what they see? What they, the things that they've seen, and after a while,
Mm-hmm.
that maybe that piles up. Like if you're in a higher area where trauma happens, and then whatever trauma that might be, you
Right.
might get a higher volume of that. Whereas like maybe somebody in a smaller town, you don't see as much trauma as maybe somebody that lives in a city or near a city, or 'cause it doesn't have to be suicide that you see. It could literally be just a domestic violence or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and you see it before everybody else does, and that probably piles up after a while.
Yeah.
Well, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of negative stuff.
Yeah.
It's,
And like I said, that kind of pairs up with the military because, like if you go to war, I mean, first of all, especially in the last, say 75 years, where have all of the wars that like US soldiers have gone to? I mean, we're talking back to 1950. I mean, before that was World War II. And that was in Europe, more, I don't want to say richer countries, but not third world. But since then, we've been to Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Iran, and in those countries, if you personally aren't in a rich family, it's a third world country. I mean, they are not countries that are well off. So it may not be the war stuff that they see only. It may also be seeing these people live the way that they live.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like we all have a house. Most of them, basically, let's face it, stick built, wood built, nice houses, but you see their houses and they have a hut.
Mud,
I mean, they
mud,
have six.
straw. Yeah.
Yeah, they have 6 or 8 people living in a tiny, what you and I would call a shed, and not a good shed, basically. And you things like that, and that's probably what a lot of first responders see is they see all the trauma, and maybe they even see, like in a domestic violence or something like that, they might see how bad people live inside their house. Like
Yeah.
they may have a house, but you go in and it might be
Right.
in shambles, not a good place to live.
Right.
So they probably see things like that.
So those are
Now,
all excellent points. Go ahead, Jackie, before I hand it over to John.
yep. What the article said was that with the increase of call volume since COVID, that there really is a shortage of mental health professionals
Yeah.
that are trained to understand the unique challenges of the public service and all the work that they do. So that was kind of shocking.
Yeah, and that's
So
probably
if they don't
why.
have the help to
Yeah.
talk to somebody
Yeah, and that's probably
to
why there's a
understand.
lot of, like they're training like I know even now, they don't have to go through for a lot of jobs. You don't have to go through the same training or testing that you had to before COVID, because
Mhm.
needing to get people in, they will train you on the job. So
Yes.
even with the hotline, maybe you won't have the most professional person to help you out, but they will have the means to know where to turn.
Right.
Yeah.
So Jen has some stuff that she researched on her phone. So
Okay.
This is about teen suicide. Suicide is a major public health concern and is the second leading cause of death among young people aged 10 to 14, and the third leading cause for those aged 15 to 24 in the U.S. 20.4% of high school students seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year. Well, this is from 2023. 9.5% of high school students reported making a suicide attempt in the past year, and every day thousands of suicide attempts are made by middle school and high school students across the nation. Signs: most individuals considering suicide show signs. Risk factors include untreated mental illness like depression, substance abuse, prolonged stress, isolation, and access to lethal means. It goes the 988 by calling or texting that, or you can visit the website for an online chat at 988lifeline.org. That's
Okay.
It shows suicide risk and rates vary across different groups. White boys are more likely to die by suicide. LGBTQ youth report significantly higher rates of seriously considering an attempted suicide compared to their heterosexual peers. American Indian, Alaskan Native students had the highest rate of seriously considered suicide. Have a higher suicide rates. Rural areas have a higher than urban areas.
I was just listening to all that. Jen, thank you for sharing that. And when you were getting to the end, because I was looking at your screen, people get picked on for being, let's just be honest, for being different, right?
Wearing glasses.
I interrupted her. Hold on, she's gonna get that. Go ahead. But you had brought up the LGBT. I can never say the thing, but people
LGBTQ.
And I just think that it's so to like judge somebody by anything like that. I don't know. I mean, we all did stupid stuff when we were younger. I get it. I understand that. but like it's 2025. Judge them on their character, not by what they look like or what like their preferences. And I just I don't know. Again, I go back to what I've said already twice on this show. Look at the five of us. We're from all walks of life. None of us are similar 100%. We all have differences, but we get past all that nonsense and bullshit. And but because the world or whatever is on the cover of a magazine or on the news saying, oh, this person because the color of their skin or they're gay or they're from this country, that means everybody who resembles that is all wrong. And it's that part is wrong. You should just judge the person on their character. And I apologize, I cut you off. I thought you were done. I apologize. Bring it back up.
No, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
No.
Go ahead.
Fine.
Okay. Jackie or George or Eric?
Yeah. So one of the things, because it really fits in, is that I did find a statistic for 2025. It did say that the teen suicide is on the decline according to the federal data. So I guess that's a good thing comparatively to the 2023 data. So I'm hoping that that is the case. Of course, it varies by state or whatever, but
Sure. Yeah.
I think
that's
Jen,
all I got.
okay. What do you got? Go ahead, Jen.
No, I was just saying that schools now are different. I mean, there's more internet, there's cyberbullying besides the regular bullying.
Mm-hmm.
Generated stuff.
Oh yeah, good point.
Kids are just awful, and it's sad that there's still bullies when you're older. I was picked on, bullied. I was a heavier girl in high school, and I walked with my head down, and now I walk into a room with my head up. I'm not conceited. I just know I've been through a lot, and it's made my skin tougher. And to those bullies, to those kids being bullied, it gets better. And you're bullied from your weight. Well, my thought is I can always lose the weight, but those bullies will always have nasty. They will be nasty. Their personality can never change because they're still bullies when they're older. And now I don't keep quiet, and I don't really care if my mouth gets me in trouble because it took a long time for me to get a voice, and it will take a long time for other people, but there is hope. I mean, don't give up. I don't know what people are going through, but get out, meet new people, go to church, talk, even if you're not talking to anybody, talk to your deceased family member, talk to somebody, get it out, don't hold it in. I mean, it does help. So,
100% right.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
That,
I mean, you can, holding it in doesn't help. I'm living proof. I held in things for decades. More than half of my life, I held things in. When I let them out, I opened up more. I'm different than I was a year ago.
Awesome.
Maybe a little over a year now, but I'm different than I was. So let it out, talk to somebody. Even if you're just talking out loud to yourself, just let it out.
Yeah, definitely.
So definitely agree with what you said there.
100%.
and Jen said, talking. Jen had said talk to your family. George, you said talk it out. I find myself just talking out loud to nobody because sometimes you just kind of got to, and I find that helps. And I know on a previous show I had said, I used to bring work home with me. I don't do it as much anymore. I just quickly through text, and then that's done and over with until we make a joke about it later. But there's a lot of people that just don't understand I don't know if it's the upbringing, if it's society, if it's their circle, their friends or family. Um, I can't stress it enough. It's okay to not be okay because we're all a little fucked up. I mean, we really are. Nobody's perfect. There's not one perfect person, and for anybody to feel they can't talk or open up or anything, then you need to get a different circle. And without going into great detail, and I'll hurry this up. There's a lot of people I just don't talk to. I'm not going to yell out names. I just like Jen knows. I mean, you guys know some. I just don't have time for them. If you genuinely don't care about me, and this is the message I want to get across to people. If you genuinely don't care about me, I don't want you around me. I don't want you to have anything to do with me because when the time comes that I may need you, and you're already showing me that you don't care about me, then I don't need you right now because nobody does anything in this world alone. And so I let people know that you may at the time hearing this or watching this may think like, wow, you're just an asshole. No, it's just I've learned to use my heart less. I don't. I just I'm talking friends and I'm talking family. If you genuinely don't care about me, then I don't need you in my life. I mean, I talk more in depth with Jen about that. She knows, and you guys, we all talk with. That's just what it comes down to. So if you're an individual and you're trying to talk to your best friend Mike or your uncle Larry, and they're just like giving you the cold shoulder, guess what? They're not the people that you want to talk to. And the last analogy that I'll give, you will never ask a broke person what to do with your money because they're always broke, right? So you're not going to ask them what to do. Find somebody like us. Find somebody at the bus stop. Talk to your bus driver. You'll see a difference if you just talk to somebody. Like George and Jen said, talk out loud. Trust me.
Yeah. Yep, you'd be surprised who's listening. There's a lot of people that listen and don't say a lot, and if they see something that's not quite right, they may help you get the next step.
Yeah.
And I think communication goes both ways. I mean, it's if a person is looking out for help, when that person gets where their mind's in the right areas, in the right direction, they should help back. It's not, that's very important because that shows that's your success. If you don't help back somebody that helped you, on a consistent basis, and you're just doing it every once in a while and just wanting attention, or, to me, that's a fake person. That's a person that's wanting attention. There's a difference between needing help and wanting attention. Somebody that needs help is somebody who's on the verge of doing something very bad to themselves, and somebody just wants attention is getting in the way of somebody that needs help. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It goes four different ways, and it's very important because if you do that to people, you're doing harm to somebody that's a good person by not being honest with somebody, and being true to somebody, no matter what it is. I just think that's just the way it is. That's just life. We all struggle, but we all can get better too. If you really want to put 110% in and be real with people, but you're 100% right, Jeff. That's the way I look at it too. The same way, just a little different. That's all, but the same direction.
Cool. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I respect you for saying that on the air. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. To touch on what Jennifer and Jeff kind of said, with the bullies, they'll always be bullies. They're always going to be that way. Perfect example was I was bullied in high school. Obviously. Mine was more. I don't want to say my family was poor. My mom actually had a decent job. My stepfather received disability payments, and I can say it now because he's passed away. No one's going to get in trouble. He worked a lot of jobs under the table. We had the money. It didn't trickle down to me. And that's kind of why I was bullied, because you could tell that, I'm not coming in with the best clothes or everything. And years later, now, graduated, I did my army, and I'm married and everything. And I get home from work and my wife tells me that so and so called, and I was like, well, what did she want? And oh, they're planning the class reunion. And I'm like, why would I go to a class reunion with a bunch of people that I didn't like then? What makes anyone think that 10 years later I'm going to like them now? And it basically got reiterated. I recently worked with a guy who I went to school with. We were friends in school, whatnot. I have no bad feelings toward this guy, this particular gentleman. He told me, he asked me, he said, I didn't see you at it. And I'm like, yeah, because we hadn't seen each other since high school, me and him had, and then we just happened to end up working at the same job for a while. And he said, I didn't see you. You didn't go. Did they call you? I was like, oh, they called me. But I'm like, but I told him exactly what I just said. And he said, yeah, you didn't miss much because they were exactly how they were in high school 10 years later.
Wow.
Each and every one of them was exactly how they were in high school.
Wow.
And here we are 10 years, here we were 10 years older, and you're still acting like you're 18 years old.
Jeez. Wow.
So find somebody who's not a bully, who's not treating you that way.
Yeah.
Say it again, Ben.
So sometimes that's their glory days. So they're gonna stay in that, they're gonna stay in that mentality as the team or the douchebag here or there, and they're gonna stuck.
Yeah. Literally, the few people that I liked in high school from my class, my grade, I'm friends with on Facebook. I've gotten invites and suggestions of others that I went to school with, and I'm like, I didn't like you then. What makes you think I'm going to like you now? I'm probably not.
I think part of me being narcissistic is I want them to see where I am now as opposed to where I was, just so they can say
that might be the opposite. My narcissism says I don't want them to know that I'm better than them now than they ever thought they were. I don't want them to. I don't want to show them. I don't want to see them. I don't want to acknowledge that they exist in my world. My world exists. My world exists despite them.
Well, it's nothing wrong with that.
But I just before because we got about 10 minutes, I'm just going to repeat myself just one more time. It was my choice to make a difference in my life. You guys are all aware of my 9-year journey. It was also my choice to say, if it's going to cost me my peace, I don't want it. And I never do anything for someone for anything in return. There was a time in my life when people were in a position to help me, and I've never forgotten that. So I'm in a position to help people. The only thing that I expect is if the time comes that you are in a position to help me, just help me. That's what it's about. And I have cut so many people off because I just know like you're not real to me, or you want to mock me. If you want to bust balls, I'm cool with that. But if you just constantly mock me for whatever, that's where that's costing me my peace. And I have talked more about it, obviously, with Jen in depth about some people. But my message to everybody is, if your circle is not supporting you, if they're not trying to help you, you need a different circle. I know that's brutally honest, but just last time, I'm going to say it on this show. I'll say it a million more times on other shows. the five of us, and we have a few more people. We're from all walks of life, and here we are. We're making it. We're a family. We're close.
Mm.
I mean, if your circle isn't what we are, then you need a different circle, and that different circle could potentially save your life.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
I know.
Well said.
Nothing to add about that.
No, I mean,
Like, I can't remember who said the word fake. I don't know who it was, but that to our viewers, I mean that's horrible. And I'm just as guilty before in my life. I will listen to somebody nonstop. But if you're never going to change, if like what Eric said, if you're just going to constantly just want, then I can't do that because it's taken away from myself or somebody else.
right. Yeah.
And but if you're surrounded by just a bunch of fake people, it doesn't work for me. And I just don't care. I'd rather have this group right here and a few of my other friends all day for the rest of my life than a bunch of fake people who don't really give a shit about me. Because in the end, and then this is what I'm going to end with, if you're hanging out with 10 people and those 10 people don't give a shit about you, you're never going to give a shit about yourself. So I'd rather hang out with 10 people.
110%.
If I picked up the phone and said, "Hey, I need help," or my wife needs help, one of them 10 would be like, "I got you, no questions asked." And that's the type of friend that I project to people, and I hope that I do that, and that's what I expect in return.
That's right. Yeah, I think myself, I think you, if you have the right people that you're around, the right people, if they can't help you, they will find help for you. An answer. You know what I mean? If you got a real friend will help you as much as they can. And if they can't help you, they're going to find somebody else that can and get in contact with you. Or, hey, look, I'll call my buddy or a friend or a fan, somebody that may need something that you're going through in life, that you may not answer for them, right? You can go to another friend and help them. Get another opinion from somebody else and go back to them and say, hey, I was talking to this person and you could try this or go here, or something. You don't just say, oh, I can't help you and walk away. At least I don't. If I see something that's really serious, I'm going to try to get in contact with somebody else and say, hey, I got a friend of mine that's going through this. What do you think? Where could I send them? I'm going to go back to that person and say, hey, I can't help you, but I do have a friend that said, go here, at least offer it. So at least that you did your best, to help somebody. I think that's when you really, truly know you have a friend, that's there for the right reasons, and those people like that, it'll pay back endless of things, it really will in the end. Those people like that appreciate that, 110%. I mean, because that, like we've been talking about for an hour, I mean, that could save somebody's,
Mm-hmm.
from harming themselves. So
we've got about 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Before George ends it, I want to go back and there's one thing we didn't talk about is how there are some medications that can make you feel that way as well.
Oh, yeah.
Good point.
That definitely needs to be looked at.
Good
If
point.
you're a teen and you're on some medications and they're displaying some depression,
Yep.
so that's something to keep in mind if you know somebody.
Yeah.
Very good. Yep.
Yeah, because you can get.
I mean, not even just teens, adults too. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, it's
If that medicine is affecting you mentally, tell your doctor. They can always change a medication. There's other medications that treat things that aren't gonna make you feel depressed or whatnot.
Mhm.
It's how, like, different medicines affect everybody differently. I mean, something simple like some people just for pain, they can't, some people can't take aspirin, some people can't take Tylenol, some people can't take ibuprofen.
Hmm.
And what do you do if you can't take those? If those may give you an adverse effect, you take one of the other ones simply. I mean, so they can change your medication to not make you feel that way.
Yep. I mean, yeah, that's a great point, Jack. Great point. Yep. Mhm.
And George, for bringing that up, medications.
Yeah. Mhm.
But so you should we just end the show? I mean, I think that was a great way to end it with bringing up
Yeah.
the medication. That's another
Yeah.
overlooked.
I
Oh, was
think,
it
I
George? You
think
had
when,
some warning signs, didn't you, or some things to
oh no,
look?
that was, well, the warning
Oh,
signs are just basically the reasons, like you can, a lot of times you can tell, like basically, like I said, if somebody has attempted suicide, but they've done it in like a lesser way, like they didn't use a firearm, or maybe they did something minor, that's a warning sign that they want help.
okay.
That's I know most times when somebody does like attempts, but they don't use a drastic way, they're looking
Mm-hmm.
for help. They want help, they just don't know how to ask. Um,
Yeah.
and
I
like,
have a couple. I have a
okay.
couple to add. So the some which you wouldn't normally probably think of right away, but giving away some things. Like if
Yes. Oh,
they're
yeah.
if they're unloading some expensive items and giving them away to friends and family, then they're making a plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, saying goodbye a lot, making it a point to hug and say goodbye to people that you wouldn't normally say that term to. Usually it's like, see you later, see you later. We'll see you again next week, or, but if they're making an explicit point to say goodbye and giving you a hug and doing some things that are a little bit out of the ordinary.
Jack,
Um,
Jackie,
but
Jackie,
yeah, go ahead.
hold on 1 second.
Yep.
I want. Hold on. Okay, continue, Jackie.
I didn't have much more, but I think it's, it extends into some of what George was saying too. Like if they've tried before or the way that they did try was just a call for help.
Yeah.
But if there's been a change in their mood, I mean, if there's been also additional like ailments and physical illnesses and physical like actually critical illnesses and maybe some diagnosis that's new. Um, and then just or it's saying goodbye, but then again, if we haven't heard from George or Jeff in like weeks, that's weird.
Right.
Because it's daily. Just
Right.
kidding, guys.
Yeah.
But what if
True.
Jeff didn't actually say his good morning every morning? We would be like calling the guard. We would
Right.
be calling nine. We would be
I,
doing a
I, I
health
think
care
there'd be
check,
I think there'd be
welfare
four or
check.
five. I think there'd be 4 or 5 people shooting over to his house real quick.
Right.
Yep. So anyways,
Um,
yeah, if that one person who's supposedly would have normally come around, I don't know why it would take you a week to figure that out, but
yeah.
hopefully it is just within a day or two. So anyways, that's all I have.
Um,
That
to
was
kind of piggyback on that, I had seen something to where, like, if all of a sudden they're spending outside of their means,
Mm.
like, like, well,
Yeah,
where are they?
why do I
Yeah,
need this money?
yeah, where are they getting this money? I mean, like, obviously, if somebody's considering it, maybe they're like, well, who cares
Can't
if I
take it.
Yeah, who cares if I pay my mortgage? What are they gonna do? I mean, if I'm not gonna be here, what do I care what they do with my house or my
Mm-hmm.
car? Or so I have heard that they're spending suddenly way outside of their means.
Yeah, and it could be somebody they're living with or married to or together
Right.
with that are doing
Right.
that same thing that they may not agree with.
Right. Right.
So basically, what you guys are saying is out of the normal routine.
Yeah. Whatever they would normally do,
Right.
like, and simply asking them, because maybe there's a logical reason, maybe there's not. But if they say, well, and with us, they're all around us now, they're popping up all over the place. I could say, hey, Jeff, how come all of a sudden you're spending thousands of dollars that you don't have? And you're like, well, I got lucky at the casino, and be like, okay, so you're spending the money that you won.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's not your luck, but but if if you give me an answer like that, but if you just say no, I just I wanted this, so I got it. You don't have a logical reason, then we should we should be worried. Well, maybe Jeff needs some help right now, or you know,
Yeah.
well, Jennifer, I know what you're thinking.
You know what though? In all seriousness, this is incredible points because I was trying to think of the word, but like it's basically somebody doing something that they don't normally do
Right. Right.
without no reason. Is that what I want to say?
Yeah.
Without, right, yeah.
Yeah, without a logical reason. So simply just asking them. Maybe they'll give you a logical reason, maybe they won't. If they don't, that's when maybe it's time, not maybe, it's time to help them.
Right.
It's not, there's no maybe. That's when they need help. Like if you wouldn't give us a reason why you're spending thousands of dollars for that you don't have,
Yeah.
and you don't give us the right reason, but
Yeah.
well, yeah,
Jeff,
but,
I do have some websites that maybe we could add at the end too. I'll have to share with you. Okay?
Yeah.
Like for vets, vets and other like resources. We could add some of that.
100%, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
And, I just want our listeners because I noticed so it says my name and it says Eric's and it says George. So the lady in the red, her name is Jackie. Her name is not coming up. Just in case somebody had just joined the second part and they didn't see. We had told everybody that reach out to any one of us on social media or here. And obviously the lady sitting next to me, her name is Jennifer. I just wanted to point that out that their names were not up there. So just in case, I wanted to point that out. It just took me like an hour and a half to figure that out. I apologize. So, and I also want to say that the free nationwide hotline is 988. You can be anonymous. You can call. You can text. George had touched on it earlier. It may not be a person from Harvard with a PhD, but it is somebody who was trained to at least talk and listen. And if they feel like you are in need of more help, they will send somebody over there. So that is it is free. You can text, you can call it. And the reason why I want to keep stressing about the text, because let's be honest, it's easier to text behind a screen than it is to verbally talk. And that might actually help save somebody's life quicker than verbal, because I'm just going to throw it out there. Somebody who I've said it before was scared to talk because I didn't know how it was going to be perceived, and nobody wants to be laughed at. And if somebody is talking to a stranger, and in their mind, if they're not getting it's not being reciprocated how they think it should go, it could hang up and nobody would ever hear from that person again. But if you're texting somebody, I think it'd be less likely to be misconstrued. Is that the word I want to use? I don't know. I'm just saying. So
Yeah, well, let's be honest. I mean, that's how the teens and even the 20-year-olds they would rather text that actually have a conversation and speak. So,
It's a big problem.
yep.
Very big.
So text is
Yeah.
good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
George or Jen, you have anything you want to add just before?
No, I think we got it.
For all of our viewers and listeners, please reach out. Any one of us. The nationwide crisis hotline is 988. We will put up a much more numbers for vets and so on and so forth. For Jen, Eric, George, and Jackie, this has been JK'z Rewatchable Hour. We did a show on suicide, which involves mental health and all that. Recently, in our communities, we had some young people take their lives. We don't know the reasons. We're just trying to reach at least one person. If you ever need to talk, reach out to us. If you don't have a circle, come join our circle. We don't judge. You're safe with us. With that, I want to say thank you all for coming on the show. I know it's late, but thank you. I know that this show is gonna change at least one life, and that's one that is that's one then better than none. So with all that, thank you guys, and I love you. And don't be ashamed because it's okay to not be okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.